hey, listen, we got this really great thing. As you all know, we're doing this really special event here in Chinatown, San Francisco. It's the We Are Bruce Lee, as you can see here. This is my brand new friend. This is Justin Hoover.
That's right.
Which is he's also a martial artist, so this is one of the guys we're going to have on the show later on. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. But anyways, so as you all know, Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco. Then he migrated over to Seattle, then was over in Oakland. But what a cool thing that they're having here to honor Bruce Lee. They're doing this really cool-ass exhibit. And folks, we get to have a first look, and it's not even really put all together yet, but we're going to do a walkthrough. So follow us.
Right on.
All right, so Justin, is this the opening door? I love this. I mean, this is amazing what they've done with the place.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. I mean, are these obviously these are all reprints, or
These are all originals.
originals?
Yeah, these are all originals. So I work at CHSA, the Chinese Historical Society of America, as executive director. And it's been my honor and privilege to work with our team and with people like you in the community to bring this show together. So we have, at the beginning here, we have the acetate film screen blow-ups from 35 millimeters. We have the original posters that are signed by Bob Wall and signed by Linda Lee.
Holy,
and
I didn't even notice that.
They're amazing.
Awesome.
And, we're trying to also share what it was that Bruce had to overcome to be here. We have four main themes around this exhibition: Bruce as a visionary, Bruce as an athlete, Bruce as a thinker, and Bruce as a unifier.
Right.
And we all think of Bruce Lee as busting out and like getting that movie star, like Hollywood stardom. But what did he have to overcome? And this is an example of that. Kung Fu's Bruce Lee versus America's Chuck Norris. Why wasn't he considered America's Bruce Lee?
Right.
And he's born here, right?
He's more American than Chuck.
He's born here, right?
Wow, that's amazing.
So
yeah, I never even realized
exactly. No one
That's
realizes
crazy.
what Bruce had to overcome to become the star he was.
That's amazing.
So we chronicle all of that, and it's just really the whole thing's pow, right there.
So let me tell you some really cool things that we found out, because again, we're like you, I'm an avid fan. When we were asked to do this interview stuff, we went out and talked to Bruce Lee's students' kids.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I'll tell you, they changed my perception of everything I ever knew of Bruce Lee. The inside stories that they knew. We were talking about Donna and Dennis Lee. Thank you guys for being on our show. But you're right, he was so much more than what people think. Mm-hmm. I never knew all the new stuff that I learned from them. So this is going to be really cool. What else have we got going on?
So as you see, we're still in the throes of renovation, and we have some of our installers here and some things being made. We have our landing space. We'll have a couple of costumes that are high quality productions based on the films that we'll show. And then we move this way, you'll start entering the section on racism. So you'll start to see what was it that Bruce was facing down and he had to struggle with. As Kato, for example.
Oh wow!
So these are all really high quality artifacts, original call sheet from his time as Kato, the script of one of the Kato films.
I watched that one.
Yeah, great, awesome. And then we have all these amazing artifacts, So we have original copies of TV guides that show Bruce on them. So this one, for example, right here, was the first time any Asian person was on the cover of a national syndicated magazine.
What?
Yeah, it's Bruce Lee. And but also look at the story we're telling here. So you have, this tells you the story where the original copy from 1964 Long Beach competition, where he came out with his
Ed Parker's International.
Exactly, Ed Parker's International. And it was here that he was found by Greenway Productions, which is Bill Dozer of the franchise of the Green Hornet. So he offered him a job as the #1 son in the Charlie Chan films. And he said, no. It's written here in this article that we found that says, we copied it here, I needed to make sure before I signed that there wouldn't be any assholes or chops in the dialogue, and that I would not be required to go bouncing around the pigtail. So again, at that time, the Chinese in America, and I'm a Chinese American, half and half, but at the time, the Chinese they were pigeonholed into that subservient role that was, completely emasculated and demonized. So Bruce had to overcome that. So when they came out with the Green Hornet, first you have, this guy who's the Green Hornet as the star. Exactly, but then next you have them together, same height. What happens next? These are all in chronological order. Next one, he's slightly above him. Next one, he's in the foreground. The last one, at the end of the season, at the end of the show, he's alone.
Wow.
He was the star.
That's crazy.
And then we have also the documents that prove what we displayed them on the wall. We have it right here, actually walking around with the display case right here. You can stay right there, it's fine. You'll see here the actual, this is the real document that was the cast pay sheet that showed who gets paid for what levels. Kato, Bruce Lee gets paid $400, overtime $50 an hour. The stuntman, $400, $100 an hour overtime. He was paid less than the stunt guys. Exactly.
Holy cow.
And he was the star, right?
Right.
So,
That's
we
amazing.
have this kind of, we're looking at the whole show at this history of Bruce Lee in the light of what our mission is, which is to empower, to illuminate, and preserve the history of the Chinese in America, and by extension, the role of APIs in America and all people of color, what we've struggled to overcome as a community.
You know, what I find totally amazing from all that you've just shown us today, and again, I never knew, I wouldn't have even thought about any of these things until you brought it up, but Hollywood back then was very much racist.
Oh, completely.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the Oscars. They're still fighting to get any kind of color representation. Color representation.
And,
So.
and with the explosion of the Chinese movement, with all the new Chinese shows and all the new movies that are coming from everywhere, from Korea to China to Japan, I mean, that's amazing. We're now just getting that footing, I mean, I'm Filipino, but I'm still Asian, so I'm like, yeah, this is finally something that took a long time to get here.
Exactly.
I mean, this is amazing. And again, Bruce Lee was at the forefront of all this.
Exactly. Bruce Lee was, he led the charge. He was a trailblazer. So if you look over here, we have a section on the Warrior. Now, people don't realize the TV show The Warrior was written by Bruce.
Oh, I love this show. It's my favorite show.
It's a great show. And here's Shannon Lee with an interview with Shannon. People don't realize that had this been produced when Bruce wanted to produce it, it would have been all yellow face. It would have been white people pretending to be Asians, and he would have probably been the only Chinese or Asian person. So we had to wait to see this show become what it is because the world wasn't ready for it. And Bruce was so far ahead of everybody else. Nobody could even understand it.
That is something that we've been finding out with all the people we've been talking to, that this man was just way ahead of his time.
Well, let's come over here. Let's check this out over here. Watch the cables. We're doing those cable runs. So here you have the kind of athlete section. So this is the original weight bench by Bruce. So come and check it out. This is his dumbbells. His sweat is still
Uncle
on.
Alan.
That's
Uncle
right.
Alan, this was
David.
yeah. We actually talked to Uncle Alan's daughter.
Oh, cool.
Said, yeah, we gave that over to those guys. We gave it to Bob Gomez. And
Yeah.
Bob donated. This is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he lent it to us. He didn't donate it.
Oh.
These are Bruce's drawings.
Right.
This is from Enter the Dragon. This is this choreographed script. And this is, well, we'll get to that when you check that one out. But this one on the thinker wall is also a drawing by Bruce. And it is, I'll come up to the front of the computer. Pie making. As you know, the traditional white eyebrow master. So this is kind of his nod to the history of Shaolin.
Yes, the traditional
style. Yeah, exactly. Traditional styles of traditional masters and pie making. So, but if we look here, we talk about Bruce being just a forerunner and everything. Look what he saw as his workout regime. This is so non-traditional.
Back in those days,
in the Kung Fu way.
definitely, yeah.
So bodybuilding was new. No martial arts using heavy bags. He's using a medicine ball.
Is that Alan Joe?
They right here?
Yeah.
Probably. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. But you don't see any of this in traditional Kung Fu.
Not at all.
And why? It's because he wasn't only Kung Fu. Yes, this was a dummy chosen by Ip Man from one of his other students who came to America. And Bruce Lee did study the Wing Chun, but he also understood movement as something that is free of constrictions of traditions. Now, I'm a traditional martial artist. I study Choi Lei Foot, and I got my nunchucks here, so you got a little of this.
Do it, go.
So, I'm not going to do too much, but you got a little bit.
I love it.
But what I'm talking about is these have some rigidity.
Right.
And Bruce said, forget all this, lose the rigidity.
Right.
And flow. Right? Be water.
Okay.
Exactly, that's what all this is about, right? All this is about how you just look at movement free of the convention. So that's what
so
about.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so, we'll continue through. We'll look at the unifier section over here.
Now, I've seen this. This is something that Linda Lee commissioned somebody to do. And I understand she only had 10 of them made. And the number one of 10 went to Alan Joe, who one of the people that we interviewed. And that's why I recognized it. Oh my God, there it is. That's pretty cool.
Yes, this section talks about his school and how he was a unifier and how he was, really spoke to people outside just the Chinese American community or the Chinese community. He spoke well to African Americans. He was viewed around the world here. So you look at Lee Scratch Perry. You see here a Japanese magazine called Rhythm and Blues Lee. You get a Mexican candle. You get a Russian ruble. All these knickknacks from around the world, right? And then we move further this way. Watch out for the ladders. You move further this way, and you get right. So you get here, you see this is the section on Jesse Glover, right? His first student, African American.
Right.
And this section is all about Bruce as interracial and how he had a marriage that was interracial as well.
Right.
And that was something very difficult at the time. It was not seen as something positive by the white majority.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, back in those days.
So in 1967, the U.S. prohibition on interracial marriage was declared unconstitutional. But until 1967, it was illegal to be wed to another person of another race. So in 1964, he was married. So there was a faux pas at the time. While they weren't going to prosecute him, there was still a faux pas on that, and people culturally didn't want to see that. Wow. My mother's Chinese, she's an immigrant. My father's a white guy, so they got married.
I know, my father's a white guy.
What am I saying?
I love it.
So this section needs to go up here. We haven't got this up there. In focus, fighting the oppressor. Bruce's movies typically center on themes of oppressed fighting against oppressors.
Yeah, this is something that hit me really well.
Exactly.
That very well.
So what we've done is we have produced a series of these, and how do you feel about breaking it? Right now? Yeah! So exactly, so we are making these for you to come and break yourself.
Right.
And to say,
I want one.
Okay, you can have one. So what is your challenge? And what we have is we have some that we have ready to go.
Right.
But then we're going to be asking you and the public to come and write your own. We'll have a big Sharpie you can write on.
So cool.
What is oppressing you, and how can you break through it as like your own psycho magic?
Right.
Break this here, right?
Wow,
so and then put it here. We'll display it later.
That'd be a lot of fun.
So in that way, Bruce was never at the protest rallies. He was never that person being political in the way of you seeing like that. But he was super political in the way he led his life.
Right.
And the way that he included people, the way he denounced traditions. He was fighting against traditions, and he was fighting against expectations. And because nobody saw him as being able to do these things, and putting a Chinese person into that role was breaking all sorts of boundaries. So,
that's crazy.
once there was white people here saying, "Oh, you're a Chinese guy, you can't be."
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. You're not a white guy. You can't be here. And then there was the Chinese people saying, "You need to be traditional."
Right.
So he was fighting both battles.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So,
that's amazing. This is really opening my eyes to a lot of different things. I never thought it was this extensive to what you guys are going to do. So, folks, you got to remember, come out here. April 23rd, they're having a gala night.
That's exactly right.
Can you talk about that as far as
Thank
prices?
you. I would love to. So April 23rd, we're having our grand reopening of the museum. That gets you access to the museum itself, to see the Bruce Lee show, to see the underground gallery that talks about African American connection with Bruce, curated by some really fabulous local curators named Melanie and Melora Green. Very exciting. And you get all the other galleries in our museum, as well as you get access to our outdoor area for VIPs of the night. And we have drinks, we have food, we have music, live performances.
Hubert's going to be
DJ Kubert
Kubert
is breaking it down. So yeah, I mean, if you're Filipino, if you're from the Bay Area, shit,
I read that.
I know, I'm dying there. So Kubert's going to be here spinning in the later half of the night.
That's awesome.
I know, right? He's amazing. He's I look up to him because I'm from the Bay Area. I've
so
always looked at the hip hop scene, and I never went to his scratch parties, but I would have loved it.
When I read that, I'm like, yeah.
Time machine trip.
Represent.
I know, right? So anyway, so the whole thing, check out chsa.org for tickets. It's $75 for the event. You can come at 6 p.m., stay until 9:30, and all
Now,
drinks.
there are two different events going on, the sunrise and the twilight.
So
how does that work out?
Don't worry about that. That's just a back end because of COVID. We have to
separate.
We have to separate because of COVID our times.
Yeah.
Come for the 6 p.m. and then you'll just be able to be there. And
So I want to know, who do we got to beat up to get tickets?
you gotta beat me.
I always got to look out for our group, guys. Sorry.
You gotta come to the museum and challenge me.
When we talked to the people, they said, yeah, because we wanted to do some footage here for that night. So we would love to be here for that. If you can set this up.
Yeah, totally.
much
Let's
love
figure it
for
out.
you.
But you know what's important is that we just get the good public showing.
Dude, I think you will. You know, a lot of the people that we've already been talking about this, they're like, ooh, when, where, what,
Yeah,
how, ooh,
awesome.
wow, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of people, and we're really going to promote the heck out of this. So, you know, we appreciate that you guys have let us in here. I don't want to show too much more. I did take some footage of that stuff in there. So, folks, be sure to come out here, April 23rd. Come on by 6 o'clock in the evening. Then they're going to have the regular showing or the regular opening on the 24th,
That's right.
the following day. So, how long is it going to be here?
Okay, so come on the 23rd for the event. The 24th we have a public day. Anybody can come. The hours are 11 to 4. So come during that period. And then all week, every day of that week until the next Sunday, will be open from 11 to 4 for tickets.
11 to 4.
11 to 4.
And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $10 each at the door. Very low. We want you to come. We don't want to be a barrier. And the thing is, at our museum, we're inclusive. Fundamentally, we're inclusive. If that's a problem, no one's turned away for lack of funds.
Right.
We can give you a comp. We just want you to be here. We want to
That's
share this
awesome.
with you. Yeah,
That's
no one's going to be turned away. So come and show up.
So we don't have to beat anybody up. This is I love it.
Oh, you can still. I want you to try to be. I'm a fighter.
Oh no.
You know, you can
I'm a
try.
pacifist, so it's okay. I'll pass.
So yeah, don't come here and try to beat anybody up, please. I'm just kidding. But yeah, well, this show will be in place for at least 1 year in this format.
Okay.
And then we have a relationship with Shannon Lee and the Bruce Lee Foundation to continually reinvent this.
Cool.
And to create new versions of this, so you'll see other iterations. We want to do one in the future, like on the iteration of Bruce Lee and popular culture. So, you know, Kyrie Irving has his shoes, you know, it's Bruce Lee's shoes.
Right.
Everybody has these cool Bruce Lee things,
yeah,
right?
Have them come up and pop up and show this. That'd be
Exactly.
awesome.
So we're doing a kind of pop-up around that, and then we'll do other ones as we reinvent it. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you know, folks, call it Konversation. You heard it here first. Be sure to reach out to these folks. Now, the organization, the Chinese Historical Society of America, I know that this is their building, isn't it?
This is our building.
So are they the ones who decide, hey, let's do this? What brought that up? Well, I mean,
So there's one person I can thank who's really amazing, and her name is Jane Chin. And Jane Chin is a board member with us at CHSA. And you know, she used to be the executive director here for a little while, and she's a real visionary lady and real competent and just heartwarming person. And she said, you know what we need to do? We need to open up the conversation with Chinese Americans that are who are interested in 1965 to now, more contemporary and current issues.
Right.
So the Chinese in the railroads is important, the Chinese in laundromats and the history of the Chinese in like 1800s and 1900s, that's important. We're not stopping that history to tell that. We're still telling that history in our exhibits, other exhibits. But let's look at what matters today for intersectionality, for racial solidarity, for contemporary issues.
That's cool.
And that is what precipitated this show. Jay reached out to Shannon and said, hey, you know what, we
let's
can do
move
this.
over here a bit. Because I love seeing Shannon. Yeah, so that's what brought up. What was the conversation? I mean, I can imagine it's like, hey, let's do something about Bruce Lee, or is this something? I mean, it is now 2022. Mm-hmm. Bruce Lee passed away in '73, and nothing has ever been done in San Francisco. And I know there's something in Seattle. But why did we wait so long for it here in San Francisco? Oh my God.
That's a good question. I mean, I could speculate. I don't know why, but it's here now.
This is now that it's. I'm like, I've been waiting for something like this forever.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, what? They're doing this now? Yeah, you know. And which is why we reached out and said, hey, we'd like to be part of this. Can we come on board? And they're like, yeah, come on in. More than merrier. For the opening night, are they limiting the amount of people that are coming in?
There is a limited amount, yeah. So we have about 300 seats available for that night, or 300 tickets available. And we would love to have everybody come, but you should go online and order your tickets now because they will sell out.
And that's what I wanted to get out to everybody. So don't forget, get your tickets as soon as possible.
Yeah, don't wait.
be left outside.
Exactly.
Well, hey, folks, this has been Kali Konversation with me, Rick. Naeem's holding the camera. And this is Justin Hoover, curator?
I'm the executive director here.
Executive director. So, again, thank you for having us here. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is going to be coming out like Wednesday, so you get to see yourself on screen. Thank you for coming. And as we always say, 3, 2, 1.